Well, I want to welcome the former Ukrainian Defense Minister, Andriy Zagorodnyuk, who is joining us live from Kiev, Ukraine. Good to have you with us. I want to ask you about how this new offensive we are seeing against Russia, inside of Russia, is redrawing the boundaries of this battle.
Well, certainly the Russians will be substantially diverted from from just focusing on where they attacked Ukraine, and this is critical for us because they had almost no reserves, they had almost no spare capacity, and they focused whatever they had in one or two specific areas, and it is still for us extremely difficult to deal with that because Russia is still a large country with a substantial force and lots of the resources which they put there. And also, they spare like no people. I mean, they're sending them, and the losses, Russian losses in Ukraine are staggering, but they can afford them. At least that's just according to their vision and so on. So for us, it was very clear we needed to do something out of the box. We needed to do something creative, and in order to sort of divert that and change the playbook of this war. And apparently, that's what Ukrainian command have managed to do.
And of course, we are hearing that Ukraine has seized as much land in the last week as Russia has taken this year. And of course, that Ukraine caught Russia completely off guard with this incursion. What has been the reaction inside Ukraine?
Well, people are, of course, happy that Ukraine does something different because there's been a even intuitive strategic culture in Ukraine that Ukraine can only win asymmetrically. Ukraine cannot do what Russia does because Russia will have more resources. And so we need to do something different. We need to do something out of the standard book, something which people would not even be able to define and qualify originally. Because right now, even military experts are still asking whether this is raid, whether this is a incursion, whether this is offensive, what is this?
I mean, that is the question, right? That was what I wanted to know. I'm hoping you can shed some light on that, on Ukraine's long-term objective. Are you going to hold on to this territory? Will it be negotiation for further talks down the track? Are you merely just trying to distract Russia from the battle within Ukraine? What is the long-term goal?
The Ukrainian government, and particularly Ukrainian leadership, is very known to not to disclose that. So it's not being disclosed during the whole operation, I mean, since it took place. And I believe that one of the reasons could be that they have multiple options, and they maybe have multiple scenarios, and also that they don't want to sell the ultimate goal too early because, they don't want to be sort of saying something before that happens. And I believe that should be kept like that, and we'll see it in the future. But for sure, there is no again, in the strategic culture of Ukraine, there is no such thing as like we want to have some piece of Russian territory forever or anything like that. So I don't think anybody is seriously thinking that to keep it like forever. But at the same time, even if it distracts the forces already, and I think that's a minimum operational goal, if that operation distracts the forces from Ukraine, so Russians are failing in Ukraine offensive, like trying to get success in Ukraine, that already would be a good result. But also, if Russians still cannot get it back, and or they don't divert the forces, then maybe Ukraine would hold it for a longer, and even potentially, I'm just saying it's hypothetically, maybe until the political settlement of this war.
Well, we have heard just today that Russia has pulled reserves from key battleground areas, both on the front lines within Ukraine and also Russian-occupied Crimea, back to Russia to try to hold some of that Russian territory. How many Ukrainian soldiers are taking part in this incursion, and are we likely to see more deployed to that area?
We're talking about several brigades. Again, the number is not disclosed, but that's certainly a substantial number. And the fact that Russians are pulling the forces outside of eastern Ukraine, that's most likely has been one of the key operational goals of this whole process. What's happening right now in Kursk.
All right, we wish you all the best. Former Ukrainian Defense Minister and former advisor to the government of Ukraine, Andriy Zagorodnyuk, thanks so much for your time.